clip of you telling us all we need to know about what to do and when not to do. So, well, hold on. Let's start recording. I have with me pleasure to have a former student, graduated in 2021, Metsala. And I would like Metsala to explain a bit the process by which he ended up where he is today. But how did you, in terms of your if you have let's put it this way, if you have advice for new students, right? What should they know, right? In terms of maybe the studying part, the getting of the job part, what is your best advice you could give to them?
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for having me, Prof. I'm a bit reluctant to give advice. I could only speak from my experience and let people know what I hope I'd known prior to joining. I think the first one is rightfully hitting the ground running. One of the things that it took me time to actually start doing was networking and meeting up with people within the cohort, like networking within the cohort and then outside, because I realized that as much as you can learn a lot from school, that's textbooks, reading the books, there's so much wealth of knowledge amongst the professors directly as well as the students. And then also one other thing that I could add on all is just get into as many projects as you can to get an appreciation of what else is out there and what's being taught. But also once you find something that you really find interesting, do the deep work in it. Because from the project, I learned a lot. I think I dabbled all the way from Ethereum blockchain to deep neural networks to, to investment banking type projects such as the Opportunity Zone Fund that we were structuring. And for that widened my exposure to a lot of projects. And I would say that it put me at least in the know on what the conversations were. And in that way, it makes you, then the rest of the work is on you to really start working, reading up more and talking to people on it. So my advice would just be go out there, work as hard as you can, at least on the knowledge gaps that you might have. And then on the studying part, I mean, I'm sure you're at Lehigh, so most of the guys already have that one bitted in. But I would say the critical thing is also to make as much contact as you can with the professors. I think if there's one thing that I wish I'd done earlier as well, it's just that. So I think I'll
I mean, they always tell me that, especially Professor Konu in the math department, he's always, and I think Wasti and Sam and these guys and Dara as well do talk to him. He wants, I mean, he says, come to me if you have any issues, and he's always willing to discuss. I know Ramus spoke to him a couple of times for his own project, and he helped him with that. So that's always a good sign when a professor is that involved.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also say one thing about the program as well is you have to be self-directed. I think it's one thing that you rightfully keep saying that, take the time to find out what you really want to work on, or if you already know that, then reach out to the professors so that they can, facilitate what needs to be facilitated for you.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's starting to work better and better on the new students specifically, but we're not window shopping here where, tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. I don't have time for that. We have 15 projects. You got to decide what you want to do. I'm kind of trafficking the process. So it's not for everyone, unfortunately. And I'm making sure with new students coming on board to explain to them, you're not here to collect a degree, especially for an international student, because it's going to be very difficult for you to, just because you're flapping your resume, your CV and your degree and your GPA, that, whoa, they're going to take you in. You're sorely mistaken. I mean, you were there when we saw lots of students leaving, going home. I mean, it's not funny, but a lot of them went home because they just waited too long to get started. And especially now, it's getting a bit tougher. Although I have to tell you, Masala, the program is probably going to go up in ranking, so that's going to help. students as
Right.
well. Salaries have gone up a lot. But still, I mean, you got to do your part. You're not getting it just because showing up. Anyway, so how did you get the first job?
The first job was really through Professor Zorro.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The Friday meetings, the Friday. I think we had FINRA come in, present, and I reached out. There was an opening. I applied, but it was through the projects, through talking about the projects I was working on, reaching out, which is the networking component, and then obviously after that going through the interview process. So that's pretty much how I got it, and it was a really great
Yeah,
opportunity that I was
you were
grateful
lucky. I
for.
mean, I will say that every single year, someone gets lucky. You happen to be there at the right time. They were looking for someone. They had hired one of our students before. They were looking for
Yes.
someone. I brought him in. He talked about FINRA, and here you were available. You happen to be graduating at, so boom, it was just a perfect match. I mean,
I agree. Yes, yes. And I learned a
and
lot.
yeah. And so now, what are you doing?
So now I just started at the global markets. So I head the division. What the department does pretty much is market making within the Sutra is a bit of a small market in comparison to the US market, but it's a growing market. So we do the sales trading within the country. We do the market making for fixed income money market instruments as well in the country. There's a bit of structuring as well, structured products for some of the clients. So I serve the corporate and investment bank, which are the corporates that actually operate within the Lesotho economy. So that's effectively what I'm engaged in at the moment.
And and this is something that I tell students as well, is when you start, you will do the typical quant data analytics, but then eventually, I mean, you move, lightning speed here, but eventually you move on to different things,
Right, yeah.
trading.
Yeah. I will say though that those skills come in handy because I mean to inform the decisions you're supposed to make. I mean, I've recently just started the role, but to inform the decisions, obviously that's where the quant side comes in. That's where your data skills would come in, just to make sure that you're precise and accurate in what you're speaking to. So I would say that it's always a good skill set to have when you're one's back, or at least to keep refining in my
Okay.
case. Yeah.
Let's see if they have any questions from the audience here.
Yep, I have a question. So I guess just to clarify, the company you work for, is it completely an independent corporation or is it sort of related to the government?